Roger, go for deploy.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome back to Adventure Fit Radio. This week on the show, we have a very, very interesting guest for you. His name is Tony Sentmanat, okay? Now, you can find this guy on Instagram. His social media link is realworld_tactical. This man is a US Marine Corps vet. He's also a special weapons and tactics dude. I'm just going to go for dude there. And he's got a program. So he goes online real strength training, and it's geared towards helping people with their functional training, with anything sort of defense related. And it's really cool. He's a big boy. He's quite the intimidating individual, but he's a real legend. So we had him on the show. We discussed everything from what it was like to be in the Marine Corps, what it was like, and all the missions he did with the SWAT. He wasn't able to mention very specific details because obviously there are rules and regulations associated with that. But we did get a ton of cool content from him. And I'm just currently watching a video of him deadlifting about 1 million kilograms. So I don't know if it's pounds or it's kilograms, but one of the two. I'm sure they're both realistic. In any case, guys, it's really, really interesting. Yeah, Jesus, he's a big boy. he's quite a big, but yeah, all right. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Guys, we are brought to you by Quash Creative. Quash Creative is an Elwood-based freelance design firm. It's run by our mate Sean Marsh, who I recently emailed in response to getting my own stuff organised, and it's fantastic. So his sole aim is to solve business challenges with creative solutions. Whether that solution is a new website, it's a logo, or a marketing strategy. If you come to him with a problem, he'll solve it for you. He's really good, guys. So what you want to do is head to www.quashcreative.com, mention Adventure Fit Radio. Shawnee will give you a free basic SEO report on your website or feedback, and you can go on from there. So fantastic stuff down at quashcreative.com, guys. We are also brought to you by Audible. Now, Audible, I've just started reading, guys. Oh, hang on, let me just check what I've started reading because I can't even fucking remember what I've started reading. So let me just head to Audible. There it is, Audible. Good. And I have just started reading The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. That's right. Clearly it hasn't been amazing. Nah, it's good. By Dan Millman. So that, guys, is a book about how to just live life in the moment, how to get everything from it, how to be super successful, whatever that is you want to do. Guys, Audible is an online audiobook library of about 4,000 trillion billion books out there. It's fantastic. If you're into fiction, jump on there. If you're into non-fiction, jump on there. If you're into anything that you read, jump on there. That was a weird way to end it. Head to www.audibletrial.com/ADVF and you will get yourself a free monthly credit when you subscribe. I use that. Bill uses that. A ton of my mates use it. It's fantastic. Tim Ferriss uses it. Obviously, Tim Ferriss is one of my best mates. He was the best man at my wedding. So, yeah, by the way, I'm married. So head to www.audibletrial.com/ADVF. Guys, finally, we are brought to you by Adventure Fit Travel, the mother company of Adventure Fit Radio. Bill just got back from the Kokoda trip and they kicked off the end with a dawn service. It was fantastic from all reports. I got back a couple of weeks ago from Bali and the Gili Islands. We also did Mexico. We have a ton of cool trips coming up for you. Anything Adventure Fit related, head to www.adventurefittravel.com. Use the promo code radio and you can get 10% off some cool gear there. So head to www.adventurefittravel. Without further ado, here's the show.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Adventure Fit Radio. Today we are with Tony Sentmanat from Real World Tactical, coming to us live from Miami. Before we throw to Tony and welcome him to the show, we are going to swing to Tommy to start us off as usual with a little Tommy's tribute.
Alrighty, welcome aboard, Tony. See how we go. I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and then I found out Sentmanat was real. Now he's on the show, and he's ready to go. I had a dream last night and he flew in the window. But then I saw his face, and now I'm a believer. Tony's scary as fuck. I hope he doesn't bend me over. And he's the man, ooh. I'm a believer. I can believe her if I try. Welcome aboard to the show. Welcome aboard,
Good.
Hey Tony, I apologise for that, man. That was Tommy's done a couple of tributes in the last couple of shows that have been. He's hit them for 6. They've been absolutely fantastic, and that one's pretty poor. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That was actually really good.
It was good.
Yeah, fuck you.
So Tony, thanks for coming on the show, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Well, I'm the owner, director of operations for a company called Real World Tactical. Real World Tactical is based out of South Florida. It pretty much encompasses firearms training, tactical training, and also strength conditioning or combat, what I would call my program, which is high intensity combat athlete training. Amongst other sponsored, things, I've been sponsored as an athlete for many companies. But that's the gist of it, pretty much.
Right. Okay. And then, so how did that all come about? Like, how did you get to the point where you have Real World Tactical? You're teaching people and training people in all these different facets. Like, you were Why don't you tell us how it all got to that point?
I started off back in 1998. I got into the Marines. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I ended up being a firearms instructor and a close combat instructor there. Then from there, I transferred into law enforcement, did 15 years in law enforcement, and most of my career, I was also a firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructor, and also I was in SWAT operations most of my career. So my background pretty much led me to start the company just because of the way that the law enforcement has gone over the last, 3 or 4 years. I knew that I had about 4 or 5 years left to retire. And I wanted to start a company just part-time to make extra money. Mm-hmm. And obviously social media nowadays spiraled out of control. And I was able to financially retire early from law enforcement and start the company and do the company full-time. Mm-hmm. Started, I would tell you like this, it pretty much started, I've been in mixed martial arts probably, most of my life since I was about 4 or 5 years old. So I've been doing it for a very, very long time. I decided one day, I started off the Instagram pretty much as just a page for my training company. And one day I decided to post up a video of me doing some mixed martial arts training or some combat training. The video consisted of me squatting with 315 pounds while 2 professional fighters, one world champion fighter and the other professional fighter, kicked me in my stomach while I was squatting.
Jeez.
It's something I've been doing, or something that fighters have been doing for many, many years. It's just pretty much core hardening or core training.
Yep.
So I've done it for so many years. It's just normal training to me. I didn't think anything of it when I first posted it. I thought all people did that, like all fighters.
Yeah.
Apparently, the social media never seen that.
Yeah.
So nobody had ever seen it before. So the video went viral. Everybody, all of the biggest like fitness pages and mixed martial arts pages posted it. And my page grew like substantially within a week or two. So I kind of was like, wow, I might have something here. Mm-hmm. So I just continue to post up my training videos, and we are here today.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Awesome.
Amazing. So let's take it back to so you were in the Marine Corps, and then you were you're also a cop on the street in Miami, right? So what was that experience like being on the beat in Miami? I'm sure you would have been through a whole bunch of ups and downs there. Like, how would you kind of surmise the whole experience?
Well, down here in South Florida, Miami, the crime rate is ridiculous. There's a lot of crime. I worked for a city in Miami-Dade County. It's the 5th largest city in the state of Florida.
Right.
It's the heart of pretty much the county, which it floods with crime because all of the bad neighborhoods literally surround it, since it's in the heart, you know? So needless to say, my 15 years were filled with a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of operations, very busy days and very busy nights, 80-hour work weeks. Especially I was on SWAT most of my career, so I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Jeez.
So, it was very busy. Consisted of a lot of uses of force, a lot of car chases, a lot of fights, a lot of shootings, a lot of just a whole bunch of stuff, But I guess that was another reason why I started the company. It got to a point where after about 10 or 11 years, I had been through some civil lawsuits because of things that I had been in. And it was just, I had gotten older already, and it was just time to slow down a little bit, I guess you could say. And it's kind of hard because once you turn that switch on in police work, it's hard to switch it off.
Yeah. I could imagine. Did you ever, was there ever a time, I get fascinated by, we spoke to a police officer from New York who was around through the 80s on one of our shows a while back. And it's fascinating to me to kind of get into the mindset of a cop. Did you ever feel out of your depth at any stage? Maybe when you were starting out and you thought, oh, what have I gotten myself into? Because obviously Miami, like you said, lots and lots of crime, lots of probably drugs, I would imagine. Was there any time where you kind of felt out of your depth, or you think you were kind of just...
No, I mean, every police officer goes through that. I mean, the first couple of years, I would say the first 2 years, every cop goes through a transition where they get into something where they don't know the laws that well.
Yep.
And then they feel like they don't know what to do or how to do it, or this is a case that, oh man, I don't know I don't know the laws that well, so I don't know if I can arrest this guy, if I can or I can't. Then you go about 3 or 4 years on, 5 years on. Then by the time you hit 5 years on, depending on obviously I would say depending on where you work at and depending how busy it is. You pretty much, if it's a busy city like the one I was in, you come on shift. I used to work afternoon shift at that time, and you come on shift and there's 3 or 4 calls waiting for you. And when you clear one, there's 2 or 3 more calls holding.
Yeah.
And you clear one, and it's just the whole entire night. All you're doing is going from call to call to call to call to call. After about 4 or 5 years on, you've been exposed to so much, it just becomes just a routine for you.
Becomes second nature.
Yeah. It just and I'll tell you like this. The first time that you ever get into what we call clusterfuck, the first time
technical term is a fuck.
You're in a shitstorm. It's you pick up a car, a bolo car, an armed robbery subject, or home invasion subject. You get into a car chase. You're behind the car. You're chasing the car for I don't know how many minutes or whatever. The car, you end up hitting the car, or the car crashes. They bail out. You're running after them. You either catch them or you beat, or not only say you beat the crap out of them, but you catch them and you get into a use of force, and they fight back, or you the worst case scenario would be you get into a shooting.
Yes.
When you finish the whole entire scene, when you're doing everything you're doing, all your mindset, I mean, it gets to a point where your mindset is just catch the bad guy, catch the bad guy.
Yep.
Do whatever you have to do to catch this guy, no matter what happens, you got to catch him. You know what I'm saying? That's your first instinct. Then when it's all said and done and the smoke clears and you step back and you're next to your car and it might be crashed, it might not, and the other car's crashed and there's a million cops everywhere and there's people everywhere, and you look around and you realize, oh my God, what have I done? You realize, how am I going to be able to sit back and write all this up now?
Yeah.
Because what people don't realize is it's not like the movies.
Yeah.
You get into those scenarios, you get into these things, and in the movies you get into it, and then 5 minutes later the scene cuts, and the guy's right back at work, and he's like, "Yeah, so what's the next thing we're gonna do?"
Yeah,
doesn't work that way. You get into a scene like that, and you're riddled with paperwork. Well, it goes two scenarios. One, if you don't get into the shooting and you don't shoot anybody, you're riddled with paperwork probably for the next 2 days. You're going to be the amount of paperwork is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And if you do end up shooting somebody or whatever, then you're pretty much going to be off at least 3 days right after.
Right.
You're going to need a lawyer. and or some kind of representation. State will come in and then they'll take your gun away. They take all these things away from you, and you're gonna be dealing with a headache for the next 3 days. And then depending on your department, you might go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where you're gonna have to go through classes, whether they're shooting classes, where that classes. You have to requalify with your pistol, and it's just a mess. It's a mess. And every single time I've ever been involved in one of those scenarios, you're always civilly sued,
Right.
regardless. Yeah, regardless if it was 100% justified, it doesn't matter. Whether I'm gonna say this, for you end up killing the person or whatever.
Yep.
You do a justified homicide, you get sued by his family, and if you shoot the person and you don't kill him, you end up getting sued by him.
Yeah.
So anyway, people think that people are like, oh, you win a gunfight. In reality, there is no winning anything.
No.
You never want to shoot somebody. You never want to hurt anybody. And even if you do survive the gunfight, a lot of times you end up like me with shrapnel in your shoulder, shrapnel in your head, or you end up not 100%, and then you end up having to deal with litigation for the next 4 or 5 years.
So what about to answer you answered the question of obviously you didn't really feel out of your depth, like you felt relatively comfortable in that regard, but like this conversation that we're having now, and you're talking about the fact of getting in gunfights if you don't get shot yourself and you survive the gunfight. Now obviously, so that's obviously staring death in the face, basically, is what we're talking about there. Now, did you have a family or a partner? Like, how much of the risk that you'd put yourself in through the SWAT, through the Marines, through all this, how much of that weighed on you outside of work? Did you come home and did you ever have sleepless nights, or did you ever? How did that whole side of it work for you?
In regards to me, I've always been pretty good in what's called disassociation.
Yep.
There's guys that have hard times disassociating themselves from work and regular life. A lot of times that'll happen to detectives. Detectives get a really hard case, and they bring it home with them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a homicide, whether it's whatever it is, a home invasion. Why? Because they start relating to the victims, and they make it personal. Yes. I've always been very good. I've been fortunate enough to always leave work at work. And I was a detective. I was a detective for some time in undercover work, tactical narcotics, and also in robbery. So, I mean, I have the experience in that scenario. But I've learned always to understand that concept of work. I always told people, even people that I've arrested, I always said, I'll get them and whatever happens, use of force, this or that, whatever. They get in the back of my car, and I explain to them very simply, this is not personal.
Yeah.
Nothing here is personal. This is straight business. Whatever happens to you right here, right now, the guy could be bleeding, his head broken in half, or whatever it may be. And I tell him straight to his face, I go, look, man, it's very simple. You do what you do. I do what I do. If you resist, I have to do what I have to do. When you do that, it happens. Whatever happens ends there. I take you to jail, and I'm going to take you actually to an infirmary where they're going to patch you up. I'm going to take you there. Then I'm going to take you to jail, and then I'm going to come back, probably clean my car if the blood's all over my car, and then go home and sleep soundly at night.
Yeah.
Because it's just not personal.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of guys that don't do that. They bring it home with them. And that's where it becomes a problem for your family. Now, where it became a problem for me sometimes was the simple fact that I was just being called out so much. I'm eating dinner, I get called out. 2 o'clock in the morning, I get called out. Saturday or Sunday, you're with the family, whatever it may be, you get called out. And you have 45 minutes to respond. That was the issue that a lot of people don't see when it comes to, police work in regards to, like, maybe if you're in SWAT or you're in detectives where you'll be on call that weekend.
For sure. Yeah, that would be hard for sure. So what type of I'm not sure if you can even answer this question. I don't know what the rules and regulations are of talking about cases, but like, how much undercover work did you do, and did you ever find it hard to be undercover? I've always thought I'm a terrible liar with a shit poker face, and I sweat when I try and tell fibs. So for me, I've always looked at like Donnie Brasco, the famous gangster movie with Johnny Depp about being an informer, and The Departed, all these famous movies. Did you? Yeah, how much undercover work did you do, and what can you tell us about that kind of time?
Well, a lot of the undercover work that I did, I was never, for example, a narcotics or an undercover, what we would call an actual undercover detective.
Gotcha.
Which is a guy who actually is going to do deals with the drug guys. The kind of undercover work that I did was I was always doing surveillances. I was the guy, pretty much, if you understand, I was the guy that this narcotics detective has this individual who's a subject of a high-profile kilo case, for example. He has a multi-kilo case. Mm-hmm. And I'm the guy who's got to follow him around for freaking 17 hours and build a case.
Gotcha.
Then build a case for the guy, see all the hand-to-hand transaction or whatever they may be. And then I'm going to be the guy who's going to take him down ultimately.
Gotcha.
And take him to jail. That's pretty much what I did most of my stuff on. Now, when it comes to actual narcotic, undercover, guys that are actual real narcs, I had many friends, obviously, and I was close to a lot of them. And a lot of them, they do get burned out, especially the guys who deal in high-end cases. And when I mean high-end cases, I mean you have a 6 or 7 cocaine kilo deal, which is involving $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. Mm-hmm. Do enough of those and you put enough of those people in jail, and it gets to the point where you have to start looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You have to start, and we have individuals that were very good at that, especially down in Miami. You know what I'm saying? You know that the South Florida area is known for that.
Could imagine.
So I mean, we would have 3 or 4 of those a week.
Right.
And yeah, so it was literally an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, cut you off there, Tony. I just I wanted to know, you see all these movies, so one of my favourite movies, and I'm sure you'll have something to say about this because it's probably just so Hollywoodized, is actually the movie called SWAT. I just think it was just I watched it when I was a young kid and I just really fell in love with it. And I always thought how I'd go in those high-stakes situations, how much I'd be able to just fall back on my training when my emotions and adrenaline was running high. How hard is it to actually do that? Stay logical and rational and stick to protocol when you're in those sorts of situations?
The best way that I can explain it to people, it's like this. Okay, you got a guy who goes to work every single day, right? And he has a pencil. His pencil is the tool that he uses, right? He uses it every single day. When you're gonna write on paper, you don't really think about grabbing that pencil and writing, right? You just grab it and just start writing. It's just natural to you. Well, police work is kind of the same thing. If you do enough operations, and I probably did in my time in 15 years, I probably did over 600 operations, close to 700. Wow. And when you do that many, it becomes a kind of like a running joke between the team members. When you're, and I tell you, I've been in situations in my life where I honestly didn't think I was going to come out alive. I didn't think I was going to live through it. And the only way you know how to deal with it is to laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Because you either laugh or cry, one of the two.
Yeah.
So, but there'd been times where we'd be in front of a door, and we knew the armed subject was inside that room, and we literally have to kick the door in and go into that room.
Yeah.
Knowing the guy was inside that room, knowing that he had a gun, knowing everything, and we still have to be the guy, the 3 or 4 guys that are going to go, okay, we're going to go into that room and do what we have to do to get this guy, because obviously, he's a forcible felony subject, and we got to get him. Mm-hmm. So we would always, one of us would always say a joke or something, and somebody was like, you know what, bro, I quit.
Really?
I quit. I need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then the other one looked back and said, you can't quit. It's like, you can't quit.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
Yeah, you're going to go in here with me, and, we're going to deal with it. Yeah. It is what it is. What happens, happens,
Yes.
You don't really, if you sit and dwell on it, then it becomes an issue, And then I had a police officer one time, many years ago, where the guy, he came on a scene. He was dispatched to a call where a crazy guy had a gun in his hand, walking the streets. He's the first one to get there. The crazy man has a gun in his hand. He looks at the police officer. Police officer looks at him, grabs a gun, blows his brains out with the gun.
Jeez.
Right? Police officer pretty much has to go see a psychologist for the next 2 or 3 weeks because it affected him, mentally.
For sure.
that happens. It happens to people. At the same time, have I seen that? Yeah, I've seen that many times. I've had quite a bit of guys that have shot themselves in the face or in the head right in front of me.
Jesus.
Has it affected me? No, I haven't. It hasn't affected me. I've learned, and that's the key there is association. You don't know the person, you don't know anything about the guy. You don't make it personal.
Yes.
Shot himself, he didn't shoot you. Now the next plausible thing is he's inside a house, so I have to clear the house. That's it. That's my mentality.
So how much of that is taught, Tony? Is that's obviously taught through all of your training as a cop? Because
I mean,
some people probably can't help but associate, I suppose, and then some people just are naturally mentally able to do that, and probably not. But
yeah, I mean, but honestly that's what makes you the individuals that could do it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to be put through a lot of series of tests, not only physical but emotional. And when you put somebody and you push them as far as they can possibly go, and you break them, then they're not designed to be on SWAT. Just like they're not designed to be on special operations. Just like they're not designed to be, the guys that you're gonna knock on the door and say, "Hey guys, we need you to take care of business." You know what I'm saying? So guys like that won't make it. They won't make it through the school. They won't make it through and if they do make it through the school, when they get on the team, they're on probation the first couple of months. And in the first couple of months, you're going to go through a series of operations. If, the team member sees any kind of where he's maybe a little shaky or he freezes or he doesn't, because in the beginning, all operators experience is going to be able to help you in everything you do, obviously, to make decisions quickly. And that's what being SWAT is all about, is being able to improvise and make decisions quickly on the drop of a hat and adapt and overcome whatever's thrown at you. In the beginning, you're going to freeze a little bit because you just don't know. You don't have the experience to adapt that quickly.
Yeah.
But to make some form of decision, that's the key there. I explain to people, or the new operators, the new guys that I trained on or whatever, when they freeze or they make a choice that's based off cowardness or fear, that is when you have a problem.
Yeah. You probably only have such a game of milliseconds between the bad guy making a decision that could be the last decision you ever be a part of, and then you having to pull the trigger or not. You've got just that, because they're not worried. That the bad guys normally just self-preservation, or I feel like they're probably even more reactionary. So you have to be just so quick. That's
the key there. I mean, it's hard. It's not an easy job, and everybody makes mistakes along the way. But yeah, the bad guy, I would say 99% of the bad times, if we were going into that house for whatever reason, it's because he's most likely a forcible felon. So either he's an armed robbery subject, a home invasion subject, or he's wanted for homicide, murder, or a multi-kilo, something that he's looking at 15, 20, 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
These guys are, most of these guys have a rap sheet already, so they know if they're going to jail, they're going to go to jail most likely for the rest of their life.
Right.
So they don't really, it gets to a point where there's okay, whether I die here or I'm in jail for the rest of my life, it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So a lot of guys, I would tell you like this, most operations, the good 60 or 70% of them, a lot of people give up and nothing happens. You know what I mean? But there's that 25, 30% where it turns...
fight their way out.
It turns ugly real fast. And when it turns ugly, it turns real ugly quickly.
Oh, well, that's so crazy. I mean, scary. You can see, unfortunately, the thought pattern going through their mind. I mean, there's give yourself up and live in jail forever, or there's the option of I might make it out of here if I go out all guns blazing, which is fucking crazy to deal with. That's why I think because police get a really hard rap for always, say it's just a random license check for pulling someone over on the side of the road or whatever, and always being so close to their pistol, which kind of, I think people think looks aggressive, but it's for that reason that you only have a split second for something to go wrong. You've always got to assume that the guy that you're pulling over is the baddie from...
You have to be on.
Yeah.
I would tell you like this. See, nowadays, obviously police work has changed over the last probably maybe between 5 to 7 years. It's harder for the patrol guy. It's very hard for the patrol guy because the patrol guy, a regular beat cop, 90%, or maybe not 90, but let's say 80% of the people that he deals with on a regular basis are normal people.
Yeah.
Are good citizens.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So if you do 30 or 40 stops, out of those 30, 40 stops, unless you have a good eye, you know, out of those 30 or 40 stops, you know, 20 of them are going to be just a regular person off the street, which you're either going to give a ticket to or whatever. The guys that I used to deal with was a little different. When I used to pull a car over, I wasn't usually just pulling them over because, he pulled, you know, he ran a red light or he didn't use
tail lights. Yeah.
The guy that I was pulling over was wanted for whatever he was wanted for. He's most likely has a gun in the car, or whoever's in the car with him has guns in the car. There's drugs in the car. They're bad individuals. And when we're pulling them over, usually we're in undercover cars.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and usually it's not just me. It's usually 2 or 3 of us. And it's 2 or 3 cars that are going to pull them over just because we know that the danger is there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that type of police officer doesn't get as much heat just because the people you're dealing with are scumbags.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
it's the nature of the job, yeah.
Yeah, they know what time it is.
Yeah.
The ones that usually get a lot of problems is that regular guy that stops his car and all of a sudden it went from real nice to like crazy in like 3 or 4 seconds. And they make most cops, and I'll tell you like this, you know, and being in law enforcement for so many years, the one thing that lacks in the law enforcement community or I could say just law enforcement period is training.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't enough training for the police officers. So people think that police officers make these decisions because they want to, or because, this guy, he just shot this guy because he wanted to shoot him. No cop and no cop wants to shoot another person because they know what's coming afterwards.
Yeah.
Shoot them because they're legitimately in fear for their life, but they just don't have enough training or enough confidence to maybe wait that split second, that extra second, and realize, oh man, it wasn't a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh man, I could have grabbed this guy and taken him down to the ground if I knew a little bit better martial arts,
Mm-hmm.
or I knew a little bit hand-to-hand combat, or you get me? So, and that's the problem. And the truth is it's not only is it the officer's fault, but it's also the department's fault because the department don't want to pay for training.
Yeah.
Have budget for training.
Yeah.
So they rather get all these new toys and all these new things instead of equipping the police officers with proper training.
Yeah.
And obviously, and what I do, the more you train, the more you become confident in something. You're
Definitely.
in whatever you do it, as a motocross rider, in whatever sport you play, the more you do it, the more you become better at it, the better you become, the more proficient you become at it, and the more confidence you have about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And the police work is the same exact thing. You know, it gets to the point I used to tell people all the time. I was like, in the beginning, you're a little bit crazy. You don't know what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle, you're already to a point where you're just like, you get onto a scene, people screaming, people yelling, people fighting, and all you're doing is diagnosing everything there and finding out what you can arrest every single person for.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get on a scene and I would say, okay, that guy, he did this, I can arrest him for disorderly conduct. This guy, I can arrest him for this, I can arrest him for this, this guy's doing this, blah, blah, blah. So within 5 minutes, I already determined whether or not who I can arrest on that scene, and that was up to me whether I wanted to arrest him or not.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just a matter of, okay, if you want to keep acting stupid, hey, put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Now, I'm deciding what I'm going to do. Now it's just a matter of it is or it isn't. At the end, all right, you just get so burnt out, you don't even care what they do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get a scene and the people are screaming. I was like, I don't even want to deal with this anymore.
Fuck you go to jail.
Oh, this guy's screaming again. This person is yelling. I don't want to take him to jail because I'm going to have to deal with traffic. And then when I get to the traffic, I'm going to have to write the A form. And now I can't even write it. It doesn't even take me 5 minutes to write it. Now it takes me an hour to do it because I got to do it on the computer because I can't write it anymore.
Yeah.
And those are the things you're thinking about. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like that with everything. I guess, knowledge is power, I tell people, and training builds proficiency, and experience will determine. At least in police work, experience probably determines whether you live or die. You know what I'm
Jeez.
saying?
Wow.
Hey,
Because see things beforehand, you know?
Hey, Tony,
The small stuff.
what about, I'm not sure, again, if you can talk freely about it, but I can ask you anyway because I really want to know. Can you think back to an operation where you specifically thought things were on edge here? Like, I'd love to hear about a story, because I'm sure you've got plenty of them.
I mean, I could. The problem is with talking with those on these podcasts and stuff like that. There's a lot of guys that are involved.
Yes.
And some of them might still be under litigation for it, and the cases are still might be open. So that's why I don't really.
We'll go for it.
Moving right along then.
Yeah. No worries, mate.
But, hey, Tony, so you always think of, so you're talking about the fact that in the police force in general, you need more training. So basically building your skills up is what you're talking about. But what about like the general police, like just a general cop on the street? What's the actual physical training like? I mean, is that up to standard, or because you always see, again, you see all these like Hollywood movies from like the cops, the New York cops on the beat, and they're these big, overweight, fat guys from Brooklyn. Like there's that stereotype of like
donuts and all that.
Yeah. Like, is that a true indication of like the fact that the training level's not really there, or is it is it hard to become a cop, and do you have to keep fit in the active service?
I mean, I would tell you in the stereotype. Bottom line is, I'll give you the percentages. 90% of cops, honestly, shoot their gun once a year.
Yeah.
90% of cops. 90%, maybe more. 95%.
Yep.
They will take the gun out to qualify. That is it.
Mm-hmm.
The only guys that receive real training and are shoot on a regular basis is SWAT. They're constantly shooting and constantly training. Other than that, the regular police officer, no, he doesn't. He doesn't shoot. Some places, some departments have in-house training, but it's not mandatory. And if it is mandatory, it's usually classroom time.
Right.
It's not actually like survival training. A lot of times, police officers put in for training, and they're denied, just for the simple fact that there's not enough bodies on the road.
Right.
There's like, sorry, we can't. Yeah, we don't have the money to pay the overtime. We can't take this guy off the road because he's going to incur overtime, and then we're going to pay it. So you can't go to training.
Right. What about like physical training though? What about like the actual in the weights room, in that doing cardio, working hard, and being like a fit, strong, active, like explosive member? Like you, obviously, you're the one end of the spectrum. There's obviously the other end of the spectrum. Like where does it fit for the average cop? Does the average cop look like Chief Wiggum, basically? Is what I'm asking.
I would tell you no. The average cop is not fat, overweight, and completely out of shape. I would say the average cop nowadays is just a regular guy. A regular dude is 5'8", 5'9", and just a regular guy that just he looks normal. He's like a normal dude. 180 pounds, maybe under 6 feet. Most cops they look normal. I mean, lately they've been hiring a lot of younger guys, and they're 19, 20 years old. But you have cops, listen, I know cops that are 5'4", 5'3", 140 pounds. You know what I'm saying? There's females on the department that are 105 pounds. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say that now. I would say, fat cops, right? That severely obese. You don't see that very often, especially at least on patrol.
Yeah.
Just as a simple fact of the uniform's going to look horrendous.
Yeah.
It's going to look terrible. Most guys that you see that are really overweight like that are usually old timers, guys that have let themselves go. They've been on 20 to 25 years.
Yeah.
And they don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? They just like whatever, and those guys work day shift.
Yes.
And probably are being taken care of anyways. So like for you to see them on a call, you're not even going to see them on a call.
Yeah.
But I don't even, you know what I'm saying? Like it gets to that point when you got a guy he's got 6 months left to retire, He doesn't care about nothing. All he cares about is 6 months. He's counting the days.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was wondering is, like, obviously it's pretty rigorous training to get into the police force, but then once you're in, I mean, I was wondering if there's like a certain fitness level that you have to tick off every year, or is it just like you're in the police force, you can do what you want, you can blow out and be whatever. Because just trying to get because you now, like, are you training with Real World Tactical? Are you training officers as well as athletes?
Yeah, I train both.
Right.
I train law enforcement, and then I train civilians.
Right.
So I have courses. I have courses specializing in law enforcement that it's a scenario based courses that deal pretty much what they go through on a regular day basis. And then I have courses for civilians, for example, just the fundamentals of shooting. Level 1, level 2, level 3 pistol, level 1, level 2, level 3 rifle. Then I have some specialty courses like for concealed carry, people who have guns that always have guns on them. And then also I have like a course where it's called the vehicle counter ambush course, where people learn to shoot around the car, because most things like that, like road rage, active shooters, usually happen outside in parking lots and around vehicles. Mm-hmm. So people need to understand how the ballistics of a round, what it does, proper use of cover that the car can afford, how to shoot through the windshield of a car, if anybody attacks you from the outside of a car, things like that,
So and with the police officers that you're training, like, where's that coming from? Is that in the budget of the police force that are sending them to the real world tactical, or are they coming of their own accord? Like, how does it actually work out that you're training real officers?
Sometimes the departments pay, right, and sometimes the officers pay on their own.
Right.
I've had both, and then sometimes sponsors get me to teach a class. They pay me, and then the sponsors pay for the students. Okay. Like companies in the 2A industry, in the tactical industry, for example, maybe like a light company or a rifle company will say, hey, we're going to sponsor 3 or 4 students in this class. Here's the money for them.
Right.
You get me?
Gotcha.
I have to so then when I throw the class, what I have to do is I have to pretty much promote their company and say, hey, listen, guys, this company, paid for these guys or whatever. They're, doing a service to you guys to help you training and whatever.
Hey, Tony, I wanted to ask you something, because this has been obviously a very contentious and prevalent issue in America in the past couple of years. It's the notion of sort of banning guns or keeping guns, like that pro-gun lobbyists or anti-guns and that sort of thing. And I wanted to ask you as someone who's been in the firing line, if you wanted to call that, for so many years, do you think civilians should be armed with guns, or do you think that if guns were a thing of the past, people would be safer on the whole?
Okay. As we are today, yes, I believe civilians should be able to carry guns 100%. The more people, in my opinion, I'll give you my honest opinion.
Sure.
The more people that legally own a gun by law, obviously, they go through the proper background investigation, all that stuff, and they train properly, meaning they know how to use a gun or whatever it may be, the better. Just for the simple fact that it usually takes a police officer, an average time of response is usually about 1.5 to 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
So usually in 2.5 minutes, you'll be dead.
Yeah, the damage is done.
You get shot, the damage is done. Property's gone, they're gone, the guys are gone. If there's somebody there that can make a difference, you know what I'm saying, or can stop a threat, then more power to you. As long as you know what you're doing. You get me?
But so how much, in saying as long as you know what you're doing, so say real world tactical, say, for example, the laws were changed in America that everybody that owns a gun has to be trained proficiently to own that gun. Yep. Just exactly like you just said, doing basically what you do. How much training does someone realistically need to be able to, 1, aim a firearm and shoot a firearm correctly, and 2, do so under immense pressure? Because that's what we're talking about, really. Like, we're talking about...
I would tell you, under stress being able to shoot at 10 yards, maybe 10 inches apart, between, well, let's say 12 inches, a 12-inch target, for example.
Right.
10 yards out, properly shoot a firearm under stress, I would say probably 2 days of training.
2 days of training?
Right.
2 solid days of training.
Yep.
Right.
Somebody who knows what they're doing. A reputable instructor.
Yep.
I've gotten females in my classes before that had never touched a gun ever. And
that is me.
yeah, and they never touched a gun, never shot a gun, and by the end of the day, they were shooting the gun proficiently and accurately, and passed my standard test, which is very close to the police academy test.
So how do you in that scenario though? How do you try and again, just going back to the pressure thing, because obviously, like, how do you train for people to be able to do this under some sort of pressure? Because that's the thing. Like, everyone can train really well to be good at something, and then put them under the pump, and a lot of it will just fall to shit.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm known for.
Right.
My courses.
Do you just run at them and yell?
No. The only way to actually mimic stress, or some of the attributes that come along with stress is physically, okay, and somewhat emotionally, but more physically. Now, physically, how do you do that? You have to elevate the heart. Obviously, heart rate elevation, fatigue, exhaustion, and making the persons physically and mentally want to quit.
Right.
Now, what I mean by that, in my courses, I explain to people when they come to my courses, I go, you're not just going to come to my class and learn how to shoot. Any instructor can teach you how to shoot. Anybody can teach you the fundamentals of shooting. You're going to come to my class, and I'm going to show you that you're able, okay, to survive, okay, and to survive, and not only survive a gunfight, but you're able to shoot proficiently while surviving and understanding that you can do it. Now, when I say that, I'm going to show you, it doesn't mean everybody's going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of people don't pass my qualification at the end of the day. And the levels as they go up, my level 2, level 3, the qualification gets a little bit harder, making you because if I teach you something, it's like everything in the world. If I teach you the fundamentals of shooting, I teach you how to shoot under stress in level 1, right? But yet you don't shoot again for 7 months, and you come to my level 2, you're not going to pass.
Yeah.
You have to continue what I've taught you and do your homework, and at least go shooting at least once a month, maybe twice a month to the range. You know what I'm saying? Or take some other formal training in between my level 1 and level 2, so your skill, because the skill is perishable, so your skill maintains where it was after I left you in level 1.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's up to you. It's up to you. I'm going to show you that you're able to do it. And in my level 1, I mean, I'm going to lie to you. I had a guy one time go through the first half of my class, lunchtime. He was like, oh, can I go get some food at the gas station? And I'm like, sure, no problem. The guy never came back.
Right.
You know, it happens.
Yeah.
And those individuals are mentally weak individuals. They're mentally weak. If you're mentally weak and you don't have the proper mindset and a survival mindset to be able to defend yourself or defend your family and do what is needed to defend yourself and defend your family, then you have no business owning a gun. None.
Yeah.
You have no business owning a gun. You have no business shooting a gun.
Well,
you should let somebody else's family do that.
For sure, for sure. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I just think there's just so many people that, unfortunately, I think with America having so many guns, you would have to tend to agree that there's just so many people out there that people aren't born mentally strong, aren't born mentally cool under pressure, aren't born to be consistently training. And, you know, even in sport, you know, there's a lot of people that don't just, and sport's easy, you know, like people don't put in the training. They're not built to be hard workers. They're not built to be consistent, you know. So I think, I think everyone should have to go through some sort of, you know, sometimes Tony's Sentmanat training.
My courses, I physically drain the person, and I put them through an intense, you know, physical thing where they have to fight. You know, they have to do fighting. They have to do some form of fitness or just something to make sure that their heart rate is at, 175, 180. And then they have to be able to shoot and hit accurately with their heart rate at 175, 180. And throughout the day, I go through different, and I explain to the student, this is me elevating your heart rate. This is what it feels like. This is me putting your body through some kind of physical ailment, and this is what's happening to you here. And then this is the fatigue, and this is the exhaustion portion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been proven that most incidences that happen in the urban environment or like in cities or whatever don't just start off with a gun. The person just doesn't pull a gun out. It starts off fighting.
Right.
You end in a fist fight first. Somebody pulls out a knife, or one guy pulls out a gun, then the other guy pulls out a gun.
Yeah, it escalates.
So, So by this time, your heart is at $175.
Mm-hmm.
You're freaking tired. You're exhausted. You feel like you want to freaking puke right there, and you still be able to pull the gun out and shoot accurately and hit your target, hit your threat. So I try to get my students to experience that as best as I can. So at the end of the day, and I say they earn their certificate because they earn it. When I give it to them, I'm not much of the trophy for participation kind of guy, So
definitely,
you either pass or fail. In my class, you pass or fail. If you pass, you get your certificate. If you fail, you don't go to level 2. It's very simple. You got to come back to level 1. So you get it?
Yeah.
Wow, I learned a lot today, and I earned this.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
I'm confident I could do this. You know what I'm saying? If need be. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Awesome.
Nothing to it.
So what's your we want to get you out of here at one point, Tony. We're going to go to 6 from 6 shortly. But what's your end goal with Real World Tactical? Like, what are you building? Where does it look in 5 or 10 years for you? What will you have achieved?
Well, I mean, it's obviously building my brand. Right now, I mean, it's hard because I have fitness and then I have tactical. So I juggle the two, and it's kind of tough. What I'm this year is pretty much coming out with as many products as I possibly can by my sponsors. So I have signature products, like I have my signature rifle coming out, I have my signature pistol coming out, I have a signature range bag coming out, gear that I'm doing, hopefully a weighted vest that I'll be coming out with, just all these different products, building my brand. Once all these products are on the market that I could, pretty much just put them on the site and they sell, then it's just marketing them, and it's going back to training again.
Okay.
Next year, I'm still training, which I'm still teaching, but it's not my priority right now in regards to like how it was like last year and the year before last.
Gotcha.
So I'm still teaching the shooting stuff, and I'm giving seminars on my high intensity combat athlete training program, which is the fitness portion of it. I'm still doing that as well, but it's not like, it's not like my number one priority right now. My number one is doing the products. Next year, once everything's out and everything, then hopefully I can go back to teaching. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm older already. I'm not old, but I'm not an ancient, but I'm coming up on 40.
Yeah.
And I tell a lot of these people, I'm an old man in a young man's game.
Yeah.
Most of the fitness guys, most of these guys that are getting out, they're a lot younger than I am. You know what I mean? They're in their 20s or their early 30s. Even the military guys now that are getting out from special operations, they're in their, they did maybe 10 years, 12 years, and they're getting out at 30, 31, 32. I ended up doing 18, 19 years before I decided to make this a full-time, my business, it's full-time. So I started a little bit later. Obviously, listen, I always tell people to be able to teach and to share with people my experiences, because I'm no expert whatsoever.
Yes.
Is my goal. If I can save somebody's life one day because of what I taught them, then it was worth it, bottom line. If the equipment that I put out makes people happy and it makes them healthier, makes them fitter, gives them a sense and an inspiration to become better than they were the day before, then I'm good to go.
Awesome.
I didn't get into this honestly to become rich. It was just a matter of living a comfortable life, just like I'm sure you guys want to, like everybody wants to.
Absolutely.
You live a comfortable life, you know, and you know, do the best you can, man. You know, people always tell me, like, oh, because of this and that. And I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, if you're still here, you're walking, you got 2 arms, 2 legs, and you're doing something you love, bro, you're ahead of the game, brother.
For sure.
You're ahead of the game.
For sure.
You're ahead of the game.
Couldn't agree anymore.
How many people you know that are in a job that they freaking hate, they can't stand, and they got to go to that job every single day, and they're getting paid nothing? Or, even worse than that, like I have friends of mine that go to war, 22, 23 years old, they come back, half their face is blown off, they're missing both their legs, they're missing their arm, and they got to live the rest of their life like that.
Yeah.
You know? We're blessed, bro.
It's very good to be able to say that you are passionate at least about what you do. That's for sure. There's
Make your vacation your vocation.
Yeah, that's right. There's not too many people in the world that get to say that, really. But hey, Tony. So we've got 6 from 6 to finish off. So there's 3 questions from me and 3 questions from Tommy. My first question to you, my man, is what is your favorite destination on the planet? So your favorite holiday destination.
My favorite holiday destination, believe it or not, I've never been able, since I've been working my whole life, like career-wise, I've never really been like around the world.
Yep.
Like I've never been to Europe. I've never been to any of those places. I just never had the money, number one, and number two, I never had the time.
Yep.
So you're going to laugh at me, but probably like one of my favorite places to go to vacation is Disney World.
Yeah, that's sweet. Nice. That's great. You can't have a bad time at Disney World.
Nah.
I would say
you get kicked out.
Islands of Adventure down here in Florida is probably one of my favorite places, just for the simple fact that you get away from life and you're in the Marvel comics for a little while, and then you're just, you know, you're riding roller coasters and eating ice cream and pizza, which I love. So I'm good with that.
Mate, that sounds good. So, well, my next question is one that you'll be good with then. So it's your dream destination, somewhere that you haven't been, and somewhere that's on top of your bucket list.
Definitely Hawaii.
Yep.
I would definitely love to go to Hawaii, and possibly like Europe.
Okay.
You know, go to Europe, Italy, and those different places.
All right.
I would like to go there.
Beautiful. And what about okay, my next and final question from me is, do you have any books that you've read that have really positively impacted you, whether they're just a fun read, a novel, or a training book, or any sort of autobiography? Can be anything that you recommend to people?
The only one book that I've actually probably ever finished and read, The 5 Rings, is a book that I've read, which I liked a lot.
What's the 5 Rings? What's the 5 Rings about?
It's a book based off of like war and just strategy and things like that.
Okay.
Just yeah. I mean, I've never been a big reader. I like pictures.
Yeah.
I'm an illustration kind of guy. Have tons of Marvel comics, I guess, you know.
What's your favorite Marvel comic?
My favorite Marvel comic, I would probably say Wolverine.
Oh, Wolverine. Good call. I was a Marvel kid growing up for sure. 100%.
Yeah, man, I have a good solid collection, man, that I still have to this day that I won't ever get rid of. You know, when I have children, I'll probably give it to my children and stuff. But.
Yeah, I actually have the same. I've all my. I was Superman in the DC world, and then Spawn, and just every Marvel comic you could ever imagine. I
have number 1 Spawn.
Yeah. Spawn was rad.
Yeah. I have my claim to fame. I would say I have my 2 comics that I have claim to fame. For me, would be The Death of Superman.
I've got that.
Signed.
That's my claim to fame.
I have it signed by the publisher, the inker, the drawer.
I definitely don't have it signed by anyone.
Yeah. Like every guy that was part of that book, I have that, and then I have the certificate of authenticity.
Sick.
And then I have probably my number 1 favorite. One of my favorite comic books was the first appearance of Wolverine.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. That's epic. That's it from me, Tommy.
Hey, Tony, what do you like to do when you've got some spare time? When you've got some downtime?
I'm a movie buff, man.
Sick.
I love to watch movies. People are going to kill me for my rep for this, but I watch it all, brother. Chick flicks, cartoons, You name it, bro.
Don't feel bad, man. I watched When Harry Met Sally 2 nights ago, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
Yeah, it's
that's
great.
a great movie.
That's
a great.
Isn't it ever? I couldn't believe I've never seen it.
It's
I've
so
never
true.
seen it.
It's so true. My favourite movie is When Harry Met Sally.
The scene when she's in the restaurant. The scene when she's
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah, it's
classic.
sick.
Don't get me started on that. Yeah, my favourite movies are When Harry Met Sally, A Beautiful Mind, and Interstellar. Like, I just froth them.
Yeah, it's good.
Beautiful. That's another great movie by Russell Crowe.
Man.
Great phenomenal movie, man.
Beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I was like, because who won it? Oh, God. Mate, Denzel Washington won the Oscar
Training Day.
for Training Day in 2001. And I thought Russell Brand should have won it. But anyway, that's a different topic. Tony, who would you say has been an inspiration in your life? Like someone big you've looked up to, maybe as a kid, or someone you look up to now?
Well, to be honest with you, man, my dad was never really a part of my life. And that's, you know, how most people say, "Oh, my dad," you know?
Yeah.
He was never really a part of my life, so he was never really an inspiration to me. Growing up, I don't know, man. I really, honestly, I never really had like I've never been. I'll tell you like this. I've never been a guy who's been starstruck. You know what I mean? I've been a person like, oh man, that guy. I look up. Yeah, like you know what I'm saying, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that.
Yeah.
I have people like obviously that I liked, and stuff, but I've never really had like a role model, man. To be honest with you, it was just pretty much. I would say the only role model that I only had that was, like a person that she pretty much raised me was my grandmother, and she passed away when I was 15. So she's about the closest thing probably you could say she was that was the closest person to me in my whole entire life. So I would say her. Yeah.
Nice, dude. And finally, if you could invite 3 people to a dinner, dead or alive, who would they be and why? So 3 people from the past or who are still living, dead or alive, who would they be?
3 people. Number 1 would be Bruce Lee.
Oh.
That would be number 1.
Nice one.
Yeah. Number 2, you mentioned it earlier, Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
And number 3, I would probably say, just because he's a funny dude and bro, the guy seems like a really good dude to sit down and talk with, would be The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Man, I love Dwayne Johnson, 100%. Totally agree.
I mean, but like, who doesn't?
Exactly. Exactly. Everyone loves The Rock. Everyone loves The Rock.
The guy's like, he can do no harm, and anything he touches turns into gold.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, bam, And he's Denzel Washington. Just since I'm such a big movie buff, I think between him and maybe like Robert De Niro or Al Pacino are like probably my top 3 actors of all time. For me, Denzel Washington, there isn't a movie that guy's probably done ever that's been a bad movie.
Definitely.
And one of my favorite movies that he did was Men on Fire.
Oh, great movie.
I would love to sit down and just talk to that guy and about his experiences. And he's very pro military, very conservative. He's legit. He's very legit.
100%. Hey, awesome, cool. Thanks, Tony. Hey, finally, mate, where can people find you? Your social medias, anything you want to plug? Now is the time, my friend.
Instagram page is realworld_tactical. My website is realworld-tactical.com. And then Facebook or YouTube channel. It's really simple, man. It's gotten to a point, thank God, and blessed, that all you got to do is just Google me.
Nice and easy.
Can't wait till all you have to do is Google me.
Oh,
I really hope I get there one day, Tony.
Yeah.
You Google my name or the Real World Tactical, and shit comes up, pictures, everything, you name it. My ugly mug is on the face there. I'll be there.
Alrighty. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Tony. It's been a real interesting conversation finding out about we don't often interview people that have been through the stuff you've been through, so it was fascinating. Oh man, I really appreciated you guys giving me the opportunity to be on your show. It was a pleasure, man. It was great talking to you guys. You guys, maybe someday I could meet you in person. Yeah, absolutely, man. We'd love that.
Have lunch.
Beautiful. Would love it.
Sounds good, Tony.
Bill's going to pay.
All right. Well, thanks, brother. And that's a wrap.
Alrighty, guys. Hope you enjoyed that show. That was Tony Sentmanat, fucking boss of a man. Head to his social medias, real_world_tactical, and it's pretty insane. It is pretty insane. Give him another follow. He's a good dude, because basically he looks like if you don't give him a follow, he'll probably eat you for breakfast. It's pretty insane. Guys, we are brought to you by Quash Creative. Head to www.quashcreative.com. Get yourself a free basic SEO report on your website or existing brand. That was with our mate Sean Marsh. Head to www.audibletrial.com/ADVF. Get yourself a free credit per month when you subscribe. And as always, guys, head to www.adventurefittravel.com. Get yourself 10% off some merch when you use the promo code radio. If you can, guys, give us a like on iTunes and leave a rating and review. We love hearing your reviews, guys. One of the best ones was about old mate who hooked up with a hot bird because he was doing a bench press and he was listening to the show and we made him laugh. So if you want to hook up with hot chicks or hot dudes, hey, it's 2017. I'm a liberal man. Then give us a rating and review. Until next week, bye for now.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.